Alrighty then. Coming in live and direct from Torrance, California, with our first shot at something that actually, I think you came up with, called
Drunken Therapy.
Drunken Therapy. Now, first things first, cheers to our first show,
Yes.
Drunken
Cheers.
Therapy.
Drunken Therapy. This is like my 10th already tonight. So this should be good.
We're cheering to a positive energy, good things happening, a good flow, good communication.
Just thoughts thrown out, opinions thrown out.
Just anything in general that might come up. Just, for lack of a better term, a rant session, I guess. Sometimes it helps just to let it out.
Therapy.
All right, so first things first, disclosure time, boys and girls.
Yeah.
Because by no means are we professionals, licensed therapists, psychiatrists, psychologists, any kind of anything in the medical field. We are just simply friends hanging out in the backyard.
One day, wisdom,
plenty of wisdom. And one day we decided, why not sprinkle it with the world? So, we're always talking. Seemed like it was drunken therapy. That's how it came about. So let's get to it.
Okay.
Disclosure time.
Oh, yes.
We are not licensed professionals, okay? Repeat,
Uh-huh.
not licensed professionals. We have had only life training for the topics discussed. We are not responsible for any consequences due to taking our advice.
Brilliant advice.
Again, this is just a rant session, basically, to let things off your chest, communicate, talk with somebody, anything you like. Drunken therapy.
And let me just say, too, this is what we do on a daily. We talk amongst friends. I usually do it with a lot of whiskey at night, which then...
Jack helps out,
Yeah.
definitely.
Which brings a lot of honesty and aha moments. So I'm going to give it up for the whiskey, and the beer for my for my fellow.
What I like to call communication juice.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Communication juice.
The honesty juice.
Yeah.
You
keep the communication hydrated. Hydration is so important. Okay?
That's why I put a little water in my whiskey. Anyways.
Water.
That's another topic. Moving on.
All right, so here we go. One more time.
Okay.
Disclosure. Alrighty, there we go. Alrighty. So, as you can see, we really try to keep things very light. It's, no judgments, no nothing, just strictly just talking. Some things that make you go,
Oh, yeah.
like you said, aha
There was
moments.
a song. There's a song that's something that make you go, right?
I don't know. Was that a song or is that just a saying?
No, there's a song. I'll have to look it up, I swear. Something to make you go, I know there is.
Google time, boys and girls, help us out.
So
we're going to go to the topics.
Yeah.
First topic. What were we talking about? Social media, right? So me and Feather, first of all, Heather.
Yeah, hi.
But I call her Feather, all right? I am your local neighborhood bootleg counsel, The Cheese. My name is Caesar, but everybody calls me Cheese,
Gouda,
so
sprinkle
a little Gouda on there, Gouda is very good. A little smoked Gouda is, oh yeah. Anyways, so we were talking about social media.
Yes, we were talking about this yesterday. Because I told the G's that I am no longer on any social media for the pure fact that it seems fake, depressing, and yeah, that's me. So
Total waste of time.
total waste of time and horrible for the self-esteem, because then you feel like you have to compete, you know. And but what are you competing for?
Attention. You got to remember. You got to
Right?
remember. Bad attention, negative
It's
attention is
yes.
better than no
No
attention.
attention. So right.
Yeah. And
Yes.
sometimes, as much as we like to say to each other, "Oh, I don't need attention.
Yeah.
I'm not like those people that need attention." Hey, like you said, go off of social media for a while and see how you can live your life without like looking at your pictures and see how many likes you have. It's like, oh, I gotta get my likes up. My social media game is weak.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not till then that you realize how much it is about that.
It is. You're reaching.
Definitely.
Like I found whenever I would post, it's because I was feeling like I wasn't getting attention, maybe from other places. So I would post just to get attention. You know.
Mm-hmm. Just
But
to get some likes.
yeah, and then you have to be so specific about what you post and the kind of attention you want.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yep.
And that's where it gets a little, my 14-year-old is on social media and
Yeah.
he likes everything he sees. And I asked him, why do you like this? You don't have to like everything you see.
Or is it just a habit of just like,
Exactly.
or
I'm like, you don't have to like it if you don't
unconsciously or subconsciously, whatever it is,
It's all about likes. It's all about likes.
We are creatures of habit. So if you're doing
Yeah.
doing all day long, I guess, without even thinking about it, we're doing the habits, the things we're used to,
But I feel like it makes you feel like if you don't like someone,
Mm-hmm.
then you're not doing the right thing.
You're not being real, like you're being a hater.
You're not being a friend. You're
Like you're being a hater. Yeah.
Like they would know the difference.
Right?
But in your mind, you're like, oh, if I don't like this stupid fucking picture of your face that I've seen 100 million times, or this,
All of a sudden, I'm not your friend. I'm not a real
yeah,
friend.
I'm not doing.
It does speak a lot to like the society, I guess, today. As far as I see things, it seems like it's such of a mental mind frame of not what kind of person you are, but what have you done for me lately.
Right.
Yeah. If you haven't done shit for me lately, you're not my friend.
Yes. It also comes
You
down
know?
to personal feelings about the person,
Yeah.
that you're looking
Yeah.
at.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this bitch didn't call me back. I'm not gonna like her picture,
Mhm.
or whatnot.
Yeah.
Oh, my Chase is alerting me about something. Okay.
Uh-oh. Chase time. Overdraft fees suck, so hey, handle
Hey.
it.
Always have money in your bank
Oh my
account.
God, man, because you don't want to be caught at the register and telling the register talking about try it again. It's probably the magnetic strip, like.
$30 is a lot of money off of something that was maybe $19 that you didn't have in your account. Okay.
All right.
So, anyways, yes, social media is all about
Self-indulgence, you think?
Oh, that's a good
think so?
term. Self-indulgence.
Self-indulgence?
Yes. Yes, and just reminding people that you still exist. Because
Right.
sometimes in life you can feel like you don't exist or you're a
Or you feel like you don't matter unless
Or you
somebody
don't matter.
acknowledges you.
Exactly.
Like
And
we all
that's-
look for acknowledgement.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty. Like people looking
Human
for
nature.
kids growing up to have their parents' acknowledgement because their parents never acknowledged their
Yeah.
their accomplishments, and they grew up having this thing where I'm just seeking my parents' approval.
Yeah.
Maybe that part of the equation kind of spills onto this part of the equation.
Absolutely. 100%.
And then I was asking like. Are dating apps part of social media?
Right,
okay, for example, you were mentioning to me that we should all implement some kind of 3-day break or something where we just don't get on social media at all for like 3 days, which I understand is never going to happen, because people make their businesses on social media,
Right.
but we get the gist of what she's saying is to make an attempt to bring it back, to scale the amount
it
of time that we're
meaningful.
on social media, right? Because what is it doing? And for somebody that's the way they make their money, their living, their
Yeah.
career.
Sure.
Okay, their time on social media may be justified because hey, that's how they make their living. But if you're not making your living off of social media and you're on Twitter and Insta and Snap and Kick and Facebook and every every new thing that pops up, you know, like how healthy is that too? You know, it's like
And also your encounters with people make them meaningful. Like how many, when someone texts you, they're
mm-hmm,
texting you,
mm-hmm.
right? They're so that feels like you're being thought of. How meaningful are your interactions on social media?
Well, on
Excluding dating
well,
apps,
99% of the exchanges are not meaningful at all. They're very
that's what I'm saying.
superficial.
That's what I'm saying.
Um,
So, when did meaningful interactions go wayside? I think that's the
well,
problem is when you're on social media, it becomes so non-meaningful that you kind of you desensitize from
yeah,
a meaningful interaction,
I, 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 I think that what we're experiencing now maybe a cumulative effect of how in the last 10 years people are so in this mode in their
Yeah.
phones
Yeah.
that they're oblivious to everything. And yes, you develop your interactions digitally, I
Yeah.
guess, or on the phone, but people are slowly but surely, to me, and I could be totally wrong, like I said, this is just drunken therapy. I'm not professional, you know. I could be totally wrong, but I think people are losing their social skills slowly but surely. They're like, people don't know how to walk up to somebody and interact,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
and just say, hey, hi, oh, hey, hi, how you doing?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm your neighbor down the street, or oh, I walk my dog over here all the time, or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
Just introduce themselves, because
Face to face
face to
interaction.
face
Yeah.
interactions, that is such a skill that was taken for granted before, that we're seeing the value of it now. I think because
Absolutely. Yeah.
people are not doing everything is so digitized. Even when you do conferences, and I get it, it's for speed and for time and convenience,
Yeah.
save money,
Convenience.
but
Yeah.
everything is just such through a screen now.
But so then that goes into the dating apps, right? So, uh, yes, that's a huge part. I met my boyfriend on a dating app, so I'm not, you know,
But do you consider that social media? Is that what do you guys think? Do you think
yeah,
social
yeah.
media is just Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, or say, for example, if there is a social media break and you're on your dating app, would that count as social media?
See,
Maybe we're missing something obvious.
for me, I feel like social media is the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. I feel like dating
Yeah,
apps
me too,
are
kind of, yeah.
completely different
Yeah.
because you're actually trying to go and meet that person face to face. You're actually trying to. You're what you're looking for is that human connection. Whereas Instagram, Facebook, you don't have to have.
Acknowledgement again, right?
You don't have to have that human
Yeah.
interaction. So this is where we're at. Um, you know, what me and the cheese really agree on is, uh, you know,
We
more
need a break.
communication.
We need
a
to scale
break.
it down for sure.
We need more
Even I admit that one.
realistic and face-to-face interaction because, shit's getting real out there in the world right now. Like,
Everybody's
but
so sensitive now because we're not used to face interactions. It seems like once we run into another human being, like it's a shock to the system or something.
yeah,
Like people just forget. They like brittle ears.
yeah,
Brittle spirit. People break so easily. It seems nowadays.
yeah. And I don't mean to get political, but I just have to say this: our own president tweets most of his thoughts. Instead
Social
of
media.
social media, instead of like, you know, uh, interacting, or
Definitely can be a
seeing
tool to
him
spread hate.
seeing him in a real way.
Mm-hmm.
He's using that platform as I can say anything I want without consequences type of thing.
And by the way, I still, on that subject, real quick, I have faith in America and everybody that eventually, people are going to see that this was not the right choice. Hey, man, we all make mistakes. You know, some people might have voted for him, not realizing, hey, man, you can't expect that from somebody, you know. But you know, for the most part, I like to believe in my mind that for the most part, people are genuinely good people, and they understand the concept of just respecting people,
Yeah.
just on their deeds, their characters, and things like that, and hopefully not based on the color of their skin or where they come from. You know, like
Yeah.
I sure as hell don't. You know what I mean? You're white, I'm Mexican. You know, so I mean, and I've never had a problem with anybody, regardless any color. So do the right thing,
So pretty
America.
much in 2020, you can vote for cheese and feather as your, you
Hey,
know,
I'm a man
as
of the
your
people.
government.
That's for sure. I'm a man of the people. You know. Alrighty. So,
Okay.
next topic we had. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about obligations in a relationship. Okay.
All right.
As far as, for example, let's say you have a boyfriend, girlfriend, and you have a mother-in-law, sister-in-law, a friend of the family, a friend of the boyfriend, anybody, just a third person that is just for lack of let's just be blunt.
I
They're
got
they're
stories.
annoying
Yeah.
and they're hard to deal with, and really is it's just a bother on the relation, a strain on the relationship, because you don't want to have to tell your significant other, right, that you don't like their best friend, and vice versa or whatever, you know. So what are the obligations? How much should we have to take to as far as so that we won't be considered quote unquote bad people or bad friends? Like, at what point can I say, hey man, you know what, you're full of crap, I don't want to hear it, you know.
It's a very fine line, very fine line, because
Mm.
number one, you gotta stay true to yourself, but number two, you gotta compromise, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you were dating someone who
Wait,
has a
time out.
Okay.
Time out.
All right.
Compromise.
Uh-huh.
Key,
Okay.
key. I have learned that personally from falling on my face time and time and time and time again. I might have had some good people in my life,
It's a
but
big C
because I
word.
was being stubborn and didn't want to compromise, guess what? I'm single, ready to mingle. Take it for what it's worth. So, we
So
decided
it's
that
that
every time we
C
come up with a
word.
good point, we were going to cheers
All
to a good
right,
point,
yeah.
since it's a drunken therapy. So here we
Therapy.
go. Our friend Jack is going to help us cheers in a good
Yeah,
topic, a
because
good point.
that's a big C word.
Because that can definitely make or break a relationship. What about if your relationship is like right on the verge and you're like, trying to decide whether or not you should leave, and then here comes this asshole. Cheers.
Compromise, yeah. And and compromise to what point?
Exactly.
You know?
I think that's what relationships are all about. What are you willing to compromise on? Like, what are your deal breakers and what are not your deal breakers? And for who would you bend your deal breakers for?
So here's my thought. The word compromise to me means that you have a give and take to a point, but not where you are doing something that doesn't fit your values, is crossing that line for you of boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be a compromise where you have that cushion of acceptability.
Here's another question for you,
Okay.
and for everybody out there that may be watching, may not have nothing to do in their life but watch two people randomly talk about crap. Cheers to you too. We're out here. I'm out here with you. I'm one of them. You know. Once you make a compromise, are you allowed to go back on that compromise when you see that your compromise is not being appreciated or acknowledged? You understand what I'm saying?
Ooh.
Like, if you are not willing to compromise, say for example, you know what? I'm not willing to compromise on the fact that you got ugly feet, right? And to you, it's a real deal breaker. You have a paranoia feet, whatever, you know. And let's say,
You pick
let's
ugly
say,
feet as
let's
your
say you
topic?
compromise and you say, okay, I'm willing to give it a shot. If you go get a pedicure and get your toenails, get those claws clipped or whatever, just being real,
I
right?
love how you think compromise is ugly feet.
Well, you know what I'm just saying? People have their, different deal breakers, things that they're willing to not compromise on. For me, feet is a big thing. I'm sorry, okay, it is, okay, so, so, like,
Male versus female.
okay,
Okay, male versus
but
female.
it's just
Great.
an example. It's just an example. Like, for example, like I said, what about if you say okay, honey, I love you. I'll compromise on my usual deal breaker, but go get it. You hit the nail shop tomorrow, right? And let's say, for example, you come by tomorrow, he hasn't done it. The next day, he hasn't done it. 2 weeks pass by, he hasn't done it. Meanwhile, you already lost 3 sheets because they've been sliced up because he's got claws for feet. It's like.
Okay, here's what I think. You, wow. Ladies, you must have good feet to date the G.
No, I'm not saying good feet. I just don't want you to pull out a fucking shoe, or pull out a heel,
Talons.
and you got raptor claws coming out. It's just. Remember that scene on Jurassic Park when the raptor jumps on top of the counter and he's just like, and he's like, that big claw,
Like my dog's
Oh my
paws right
God.
now.
Yeah.
So when I think,
Okay, yeah.
when I think about,
Oh my God. Drunken therapy.
I know this is where we're gonna edit this out, but
No, why would you edit it
No,
out?
I think in a woman's mind,
All right.
my mind, compromise goes a little bit deeper.
Okay, like
Then
I
the
said, that was
physical.
just one example.
Or yeah, of course,
Okay.
of course, we'll respect that. Compromise is because we were talking about families, right? And what
It's a
was the
vaping tobacco.
wait, what was obligations?
Obligations in a relationship.
So, say, here's a good example. Okay, so I was married for a long time, and I could not stand my husband's family.
See, that's the same thing. What are you talking about? You dove right into
I
it.
could-
See?
I could not
Wait a minute.
stand them.
That's not much
But-
deeper than feet.
It
All right,
is,
but go ahead.
it is.
Go ahead.
So, where do you draw the line of, this is my husband, I'm going to be there for this family that is just horrible,
Right,
to
right.
where you honor yourself and be like,
And you just
I
keep
don't,
quiet.
I don't feel like I have to hang out with your family just because we're married.
Or at some
you know?
point, maybe you would feel like, hey, husband,
Do you have my back?
yeah,
Or,
say something to your family. Hey, this is my wife. You might be doing something that, makes her
Right.
uncomfortable. And no matter how you might feel about it, the point is it makes my wife uncomfortable. And I want her to feel comfortable around my family.
Another thing. Sorry, this is going all over the place. But, so then when you don't want to be married to this person anymore,
Okay.
do they have the right to contact your family and talk about it with them?
Of course not.
Thank you.
Of
Thank
course not.
you.
Of course not.
Oh my
that's
God, thank
that's
you.
between two people. It's your marriage. You aren't married to their
I would
family.
never call his family and
No.
talk to
And you
them.
know what? As a Latino, okay, let me say that we are a major violator. We are habitual line steppers when it comes to this, okay? Not being able to draw the line and say, you know what, this is my marriage between me and my wife, not between me and my wife, my mom, my uncle, my mom's cousin, la prima, la tia, la neighbor, chismeando everywhere, just diarrhea of the mouth. Look, man, a relationship, the way I look at it, is hard enough between just two people. Now you bring in everybody else and their fucking opinions and their 2 cents. You know what, dog? You could keep those 2 cents on that bill. I got it. Like, hey, I don't need it. And as Latinos, man, we are habitual line steppers. I'll be the first one to admit it, man. We have a fucking hard time. Not personally, that people might call me a a-hole, whatever. But hey, I have no problem saying, hey, mom, you know what? I hear what you're saying, but there's an issue between me and my wife. And I heard you. Thank you. Now let me handle it.
Right.
I'm not gonna be the type. I've never been the type to, oh, what my mom tells me to do in my relationship, I do it, because that's like,
Or to call her parents.
or to
and
call her
talk.
parents and talk to her about like, hey, your daughter's not doing this, blah, tell
Thank
her
you.
to,
Yeah.
what kind of
you.
shit is that, man? You as the husband, me as the man, the more things change, the more things stay the same. A woman expects you as the man to take control of the relationship and somehow have a plan of action.
Yeah.
And your plan of action should definitely not be calling her mom and saying, oh, I can't handle your daughter. Fuck that. You know what? Be a grown up, practice your communication
And
skills.
ladies and gentlemen, if you have been one who have done that, called your significant other's family to try to coerce or, lay your egg in their thoughts, it's gonna backfire because the person that you are with is going to think you.
It's just gonna create resentment.
You cross the boundaries. That is not okay.
Line stepping.
Line stepping. You keep it between you two.
Remember how Charlie Murphy said it on Dave Chappelle when he's talking about Rick James? He said he was a habitual line stepper.
Yeah.
Now, I always remember this. Somebody told me this, man. You play the middle, you end up getting pooped on from both sides. So take a stance. You know what I'm saying? And if you're going to take a stance, and if you have this kind of relationship, hey, man, stop that. And if you're a woman, I think as a man, honestly, you shouldn't have to put up with it. Communicate your point, express the fact that you don't like it, express the fact that it's causing trouble, and express the fact that, it's making you feel like this relationship's not going to work out. After all that's been expressed and it still doesn't change, hey, I have no problem with just packing mine and just peace. Not even a text message. Because, like, hey,
Who is in the relationship? You and that person. No one else. Your family, your friends, they are not in the relationship. So don't fucking bring them into that relationship.
So I guess the way I feel about the obligations is once you're obligated to communicate, I guess I feel like you're obligated to communicate how you feel, because it's not fair for you to just leave without you, as valid as your feelings are, it's not fair for, to leave because you feel a certain way, but you didn't tell the person that you felt a certain way, Communicate your feelings, communicate your intents, communicate, hey, man, if you don't want to do this, I'm going to do that. And if after all that, and they still blow you off, then, hey, I feel like your obligation is met. And for me, you're still a good person, quote unquote, if you just take off. If you end the relationship or you decide to exit the relationship for whatever reason,
I feel like obligations in my mind are a matter of course, communication, trying to be as honest about it if you can't continue with the obligation or not, but what it comes down to is what you're comfortable with, like never obligate to something that you don't feel comfortable in doing. And if you do, then feel okay about saying, I fucked up. I can't do that to myself.
Remember, to err is to be human.
That's right.
Okay? And that's a good segue into another topic that we have, listening.
Listening, which we will talk about on our next
Drunken Therapy session.
Yes. So we're going to take one more shot. And
celebrate our first show. I want to thank anybody who may have tagged along to just watch this random rant. Hey, thank you very much for your time. Hey, remember, the glass is always half full.
Oh, that's right.
Cheers.
Cheers.